Hello everybody, this is my first video in 2023. I actually made this stone at the beginning of December of 2022, but illness kept me from completing it, and you're going to see as I'm going along in this video that I have a few issues. I didn't realize the issues I was having until it came time to actually edit the video. I'm going to just blame it on my illness, and I'll point out my mistakes, and hopefully you'll forgive me as we go along, because I think it's a pretty stone. I think you'll enjoy doing it. So this is a 3 3/4 inch rapid set cemento stone that I made. I have a video down below. These are my my tools. I have just a small set of tools that I use. We're using Smoky Jade, white, fire opal, the Scallion, which is like a light green, and Couscous, which is a light yellow, and we can't forget the white pearl, and of course Hologram. So base coat your stone with the Smoky Jade, and then with a compass I'm going to just draw a series of circles. I didn't know what size they were going to be until after I laid them, and I measured them for you. It's a 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, and 2 inches. With a 9mm flat backed crochet hook, I'm just putting a nice big white dot in the center. And a medium-sized tool. This tool here, this pink and white one, I have 2 of them. I picked these up at the Dollar Tree. I've only found 2 that have different sizes. I don't know if I was just lucky or what, but since then I've only been able to find 1 size. So I went ahead and I put 8 kind of smallish dots around the original circle. And then I came back with a little bit larger, and in between the first 8 I put 8 more. And then the third row you can see are the largest of the dots. And again, there's 8 of them. And now on every other of those dots, so each of the corners, we'll call those the corners, I have gone with the light green, the Scallion light green, and put 2 little sets, 1 little set of walk the dots on each side. Now with the Couscous, which is like a light yellow, I put a swoosh along the right hand side of each of those elements. And then on the other side, I did a swoosh of white. And following along that same side, the left side, I'm coming in with a light green, the Scallion. And I do a lot of back and forth, so everything is sort of like one color on one side and then the other color on the other side. You can keep it all the same if you'd like, or however you decide to do it. It does get a little confusing this way, but this was how I decided to do it. Okay, so I had done a yellow and then a white, and now I am doing another swoosh of green. If you have any fears about swooshes, you will be able to overcome those fears by the end of this video, because I do a lot of swooshes. So I'm putting in a couple of sets of walk in the dots to just kind of separate up these swooshes and give it a little bit more interest. If it was just swooshes, it would get really monotonous and everything would kind of just fade into each other. So break it up. Now with the fire opal, I'm just drawing a line, a swoosh right straight through, just trying to separate it up and add a little bit of color here. Now these 4 white dots that I'm putting in, I didn't have any plans for them, and I don't think I actually do anything with them at the end. All right, now my first collar, I left a little bit of negative space here. And the first collar going around, I wanted an even number of dots so that I could eventually do every other pattern. So with the medium-sized tool, I did. You can put, it doesn't matter the size, just as long as you have an even number. So if you want to put big dots, you can do that. You can do small dots. It doesn't matter. The important part is the math, which I did not take into consideration because it's never been a problem for me before. So I did an even number of dots around, and you can see that I did medium size, then I put smaller ones on the top and then medium ones in the bottom. So I have 3 sets of dots there. And then with the light green, I came around and I did every other dot and made like a little lacy pattern. And since that worked out fine, I just, in my head for some reason, figured, well, I should be able to do the same thing with the fire opal. But it didn't work out that way. So I had to go around and put a fire opal dot in between on each of them. The problem was I had 54 dots. When I tried to do every other for the 27, I realized that 27 was not going to be divided equally. So therefore I had to go back and fill everything in with the fire opal, followed by a small set of white dots framing the right side of each of those fire opal. Now here I'm showing you the swishes as I do them in real time. I wanted you to see how I pick up some paint, I line up my dot with the main dot below, and then I just tap a few times to like help push my paint off the tool, and then pull. Now these here, this is double time. iMovie on the iPad doesn't have a whole lot of options as far as speed goes. So the quickest I can show you is double time, and this is double time. The first ones I showed you were originals. They were as I did them. So this would be a good time if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up and maybe hit that bell so when I put out another video, my next video, you can be informed. I would really appreciate it, and thank you so much. Okay, so after that set of swishes, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just adding a little row of walking the dots. I'm doing that. I think that's in white. It gets a little hard to tell, but so now with the scallion or the light green, I am putting a swish coming the opposite way, coming down. Now later on, I'm going to come back with my paintbrush and I'm going to shorten up all of these swishes here, this whole set, the set of the green and the light yellow and the white walk dots. You'll see why I end up doing that. Another set of walk the dots, and we're going to move down to our next color. So I'm just putting some medium size white dots all the way around. I don't think I actually counted them. I didn't have any plans for it. And I just followed one of the guidelines there. I don't remember which one it is, but you can see where it is on this stone. And then in between that, I put a small dot of the fire opal, and then all the way around on the top, you can see there's another guideline there. I did the light yellow. So now I'm taking a chance. I didn't count. I'm just going to go around with the light green and a very fine tool, and I'm going to do in every other pattern, hopefully, until I get to the end and I realize I have an extra space right here. But those spaces are so close together and my dots are so small, I'm not going to worry about it. I leave it. And even though I knew that I had done it, when I looked for it, I had a hard time finding it. So if your dots are really close, don't worry about it. Or if it looks bad, go back and just fill everything in. And a little off-center white top dot on the fire opal. And then I did an off-center top dot of the Smoky Jade. Now going back up to the top, I did white on the fire opal, off-center top dots, and then I did the fire opal on the white. And all of these are facing up towards the center. I'm trying to draw the eye up. Okay, here's where I am going back and I'm using my brush and the same Smoky Jade, and I'm pulling all of those tails of the swishes and the dots up and shortening them. I really liked the way it looked, but I wanted to put a dot to kind of pull them all together. and they were too long. It was too far down. I don't know if I would do the same thing now, but in the end, it all came together just fine. I came back with a dot, and I put a green dot on the end of the yellow swish, and a yellow dot on the end of the green swish. Again, using the fire opal now, I'm just popping a couple of little dots on the top there, trying to pull everything together. And for a little interest, I'm just adding some series of walking dots here, and I'm not following any particular pattern. I'm just trying to make them look light and airy, kind of whispery, almost like little bits of smoke going up. I don't know, steam, whatever. It just adds something really soft and pretty to the design here. So in a minute here, I'm going to start getting a little bit all over the place, and I'm hoping that you're going to just forgive me. Truth be told, after this evening when I was painting this, the next morning I ended up in the hospital, stayed there for 6 days. So, you know, it's a little bit kooky. So if you could just follow along. And I really don't think there's all that much that I've done here that you can't follow along. I know you can do. All right, so now I'm trying to fill up a little bit of dead space, negative space here. And if you can see how this is getting progressively further and further away from the row above on one side, and it's getting closer on the other side. And there's a reason for that, and it's not me, it's the stone. For once, it's the stone. So here, see on the left how the space between those last two rows is so small, and then as I go along, it gets wider and wider. Now I'm just putting some yellow down in between the white down there. Here I'm just going around. I'm doing an every other pattern on the third row. Of the original 3 rows of white dots that I had put, I'm doing yellow on every other one, and then green. And in the original second row, from the beginning, I'm putting a fire opal off center top dot. And on the original first row, I am putting in every other of the light yellow, and then the green in between. So it's yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green. And I don't show it, but I do take the hologram and I put a very large dollop of hologram right on that center white dot there. Now I'm just kind of filling up some space here. I don't really know what I was thinking when I was doing it, but whatever it is, it seems to work out okay. Just adding a little interest, breaking up a little space. It's funny how the mind works when you're just not feeling well and you think you're doing okay. All right, so I want to fill in that space again, that off space, and I will explain that, show that in a bit. And I decided to do like a little lacy pattern along the edge, and so I just put one dot underneath that. It's actually, there's a fire opal with a white off center top dot there. And then I just walk them around to the next one. And as they get progressively smaller, it gives it kind of the effect of some lace. Now I'm out with the hologram. And now I have the fire, oh no, I'm sorry, that must have been white, I think. And fire opal. And now I have the green. Please just, this is where it really gets confusing. You can see I'm adding green dots on top of each of those 2 sets of dots there. And now I've switched over to the yellow one. And I'm thinking, oh no, that's not right. And I remove that. But I don't do anything with the first set of 2 green that I put there over on the left. And I continue with the yellow. And this is what I'm going to ask you. Please just look at it and look at the finished stone. That'll actually be the best thing to do. Most of these end up with some kind of an off-center top dot. A lot of them end up with the Smoky Jade. Some of them end up with the Hologram. Frankly, I don't even know what I did. And to try to explain it is so back and forth, I think I would probably drive me and you crazy. So, all right. Now we're back to the end, to the bottom again. Now see, this is very close. I'm following a guideline underneath. See how close those are at the top? This is what happened. I put my pencil on the table and I turned my stone to get a guideline along the very edge, what I call the girdle. I think it's actually called a girdle, but yeah, so I wanted to get that last guideline in there. But the bottom of the stone, you can see when I poured it, this mold is misshapen, and it didn't pour straight. Okay, so you can see here, the lines are very close together, and then on the other side, they're a lot further apart, and that's because the stone is not even on the bottom. So when you're drawing a line around the bottom, obviously, one side is going to be higher than the other, and that's what happened. So now I'm trying to do like a little zigzag, and I'm following that line underneath, and I've put a white dot under the yellow one, and I wanted to put a little dot in between, going up towards the yellow. You can see, going up towards the white. You can see what I'm doing there. I'm trying to make like a little zigzaggy thing. And then it's getting really, really tight. But my addled brain is like, what the heck? And so I say, well, maybe if I go back from where I began, where I had a lot of space, and work in reverse, I'll be able to even it out. And that works most times. But here you can see that it absolutely was not going to work. And I wasn't cognizant of the fact that my lines were off because my stone is off. So I came back with a little skewer. I actually have a toothpick here, I'm sorry. And I put a little white dot underneath each one of those, and it actually made it look pretty okay at the end. You know, you got to do whatever you have to do to make things right. You could take everything off and do it over. I don't want you to be so hung up on it either, at perfection. Just this is supposed to be fun, okay? And so I'm not about perfection. If you're looking for perfection, you're not going to find it with me. I'm sorry. All right, here I have the white pearl, and I go over most of my white acrylic dots with the white pearl. And the reason why I don't put the pearl first is I have a dark base coat, and if the pearl is a little bit translucent, and so if I just put the pearl, the green would show through, the dark green would show through. So I make it a habit of putting the white acrylic first and then putting pearl on top of it. If I really want it to stand out, it does give it a little bit more presence. It's gives it more body, and it also helps straighten out crooked dots. So if your acrylic dots are a little wonky, like mine tend to be, putting the white pearl on top, it just kind of forms around it, and it makes it look kind of perfect in an imperfect kind of way. So I did the dots underneath, and go around your pattern, and wherever you have white, if you think it needs something to help it stand out, add the white pearl to it. If you hear some sneezing in the background, that's my husband. He's downstairs watching the hockey game and having a bit of a sneezing fit. Now I have hologram, and I'm putting that around in all different spots. I want to say that I don't use a lot of hologram on this stone, because looking at the stone itself, I don't see a lot of hologram, but I kind of do use a lot the thing is that I only use it on very small dots, except for that center. Like I said before, I do put a big dot of white hologram on that big white center dot there. I don't show it, but I do. And I'm putting the hologram on those little wispy things, and it just gives them the right amount of sparkle. So if you like, even if you don't like hologram, just give it a try. It helps. It makes things stand out and brings things alive. And just the hologram you can put just about anywhere. It doesn't really have a color. It just, except for on black. If you put hologram on black, it shines green. It's just the oddest thing, but it's just gorgeous. Now here on those little lacy spots there, I'm using a skewer, a little wooden skewer. And I find them a lot easier to control than a toothpick. So I also get those by the pack at the Dollar Tree. A little more hologram on the pearl. I add the white pearl on the white acrylic. And sometimes that's it, just the pearl. Other times I add hologram on the white acrylic. Or I'll have white acrylic, pearl, and hologram. So do what looks good to you. If your pearl needs a little bit of glitter, like these here, I'm adding a little bit to it. They'll stand out more. It's not going to be too much. Yeah, it's one of those things you just want to experiment with. So here we go. You can see that I found those extra green dots and I placed them on all four corners. And I put the hologram in the center. And all in all, at the end, I don't know how I did it, but I ended up with a pretty nice looking little stone here. Or at least I think it's a pretty nice little stone. So if you would, leave me comments below. I appreciate you hanging in with me. And if you could, just give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.